rawmike.richards.com. As we find a bizarre morning, trust me, this has been a little goofy, actually in Toronto, period. Oh, crazy stuff. I think it's seeped through the walls and hit the staff of rawmike.richards.com. I don't know what's going on. So
I blame the crane. I blame the crane outside.
Yeah, so let's just call her Crane Woman. So for those of you watching as we stream live, if it's a podcast or you go to our website, you're going to want to check this out. As here this morning, some woman had a tremendous idea of going up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. Was she trying to take a picture? So here's what we've got, courtesy of the Toronto Star. She goes up a massive crane in a construction site at 4 o'clock in the morning, gets onto the crane, and I mean the swinging part, the dangerous part, the part that you would die on, and get stuck and can't get down.
I'm glad. You know what? I'm just glad everybody's okay, and in particular, she's okay.
You are. I'm not. I was hoping for a completely. If she burst into flames and the people cheered when she came down, and guess what? She gets arrested. So public mischief, but they had to have like SWAT. I think they even played the music when the cars and the trucks came up to the crane. Took 4 hours to get down. I can guarantee you, she's getting a bill. She's getting a bill for this.
She better get the bill for it.
I'll give you.
How many workers were out there today?
Well, like I said, Gage and DeSoto from Squad 51, an emergency, they were there. And you know how it works now in Canada, depending on the province that you're in. So, as you know, last week when we were supposed to start this show, you can kill it now. We don't need Crane Woman. She's living, I'm sure, an outstanding life now in a woman's prison. I rented that once. But when I was taken by paramedics to the hospital, you know, you call 911.
Sure.
I walked out of the hospital because it just wasn't easy for me to get into the little into the gurney. I got a bill. I got a bill for $45.
Did you really?
Because the government will cover so much. It's like $200 and some odd dollars that they take care of, but there's $45 left over. So by calling 911, I got a bill for $45, which leads to conversations that I've heard that there are some people, if they regularly have medical issues with a parent,
yep,
with a child, they'll say, is it okay if we take a cab? Is it okay if we take our own car? They want to drive themselves, even when it's a medical emergency, because they probably don't have the extra $45. And apparently, if you're in Saskatchewan, and you guys can probably tell me better than I just researching, it's more. It can be a couple $100.
Wow.
If you're on the prairies, it can be expensive. I think Winnipeg even falls into that category.
Because I've heard about if you get a couple calls to the fire department to actually go to your house for the false alarm, and we're talking about false alarms here. I think it's the second or the third one you're charged, and you're charged a fair bit of money, and I think it's in the hundreds of dollars.
I would think so. So what is that? What do they charge in? I was going to say numbnuts, but I don't think it applies here. At least I don't know if it applies. You never know now. But what would possess someone to do that? I don't know. So that's how we started off our day here.
We'll find out the story
in this city.
A lot of times you're right, though. It's about getting a picture, and it's like, really, do you really need a picture that badly from that?
Like it's
like I've seen some crazy pictures of people from different angles or trying to take something of the Don Valley, and you kind of go in the middle of traffic, or you know what I mean? It's just
they call them urban explorers, some of these ones, but that's just when you see how high up she was.
We're
it's the size of a building. It's the size of a building.
We're speculating here on what she was doing up there. It could be something completely different. I don't know. Is it natural at 4 a.m? Are you ever going to call me up and say, "Hey, let's head down to the nearest crane"?
Yeah. If I phone you, Dave, and go, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, I got this really great idea. I'm going to go down to church in Wellesley, and I climb a crane, and I'm going to go, you go, yeah, by the way, you're a fucking idiot. That's what you're going to say. And by the way, that's what she is too. And I'm glad she got arrested. I was hoping for people to archers to show up with flaming arrows. I mean, that's what I do.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. Make it interesting.
I could do the play-by-play.
Don't. Thanks for joining us here this morning. As always, big thanks to Henry's, Canada's Camera Store.
It's my favorite store.
It is, and they're great stores too. If you haven't been to one, they're very different looking because they're really wide open. They're very bright. And, of course, if you want the best deal on cameras, that's where you're going to go, coast to coast here in Canada. Also, we want to thank Abby Studio. Today, we're going to have the ability for you to go and see some of this archived material that I talked about.
Good.
But here's the one thing about being in this digital weirdo YouTube world when it comes to rights. Someone said, what about some of the, you want to do Third Song Friday or Third Song Thursday, whatever you want to do. Well, we have to check into the rights. They have like little Martian robots, killer robots or whatever they got, these computers that make sure that if it's a copyrighted piece of music that you get hooked for it. So we said Trollololo Man gets hooked. Anything we do. So obviously, if we're doing a third song.
That was the biggest surprise to me.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of songs out there, but really that is copyrighted?
What old Russian person's going,
we got to copyright this quick.
That's weird. So we're gonna deal with that too. But as we go along, doing the shows that we're used to doing and have done for years, to bring it to you now in this new medium, we just have to make sure that we're able to do it. And you can't take away our Third Song Friday.
Crow Rebel tweets in, by the way, when's the live studio audience happening?
That's a great idea too. And he knows it's in a bar. At least this one is, of the ones that we can take. So that's what there's. Yeah, I see a lot about the live studio audience. People wondering if the show was down. It started a little late today. As I said, it's just been a weirdo freak kind of day. And so you know what, Russell, we're going to start with, speaking of craziness, maybe it started last night. When you go to Major League Baseball and the Toronto Blue Jays, who haven't really had much luck at all, I guess when you start doing, what was her name? Olga Corbett,
okay,
Mary Lou Henner. When you start doing the way to score now for the Blue Jays is to make sure you have some sort of gymnastic background. And if you saw last night, it was a crazy play. Was it Coghlan?
Yeah, Chris Coghlan.
Chris Coghlan,
bench player for the Blue Jays.
And so let's go to that because people are like, who? Here's how it sounded. So there it is. Courtesy of Fox Sports, by the way. And flipped over.
I'm giving him a 9.8.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. It was a little bit, on the recovery, on the landing, I'm deducting points. Yeah. I don't think it was exactly the way he had wanted it to be, but you know what? And also on the initial dive, his knee hits Yadier Molina's head. And you don't want that. You got to stay away from that. So next time I'm expecting a little bit more. But you know what? A great start, and I hope he does well in the championship.
Yeah, I generally like the toes to be pointed. And by the way, if that's a slide, you're teaching T-ball the other night. Go ahead and teach that one to the little
Thursday. Starts up on Thursday.
What is the age?
5 and under.
Yeah, you gotta teach that slide. You gotta teach the. I mean, honestly, I'm watching the game live and just was stunned that he even thought of it's got to be.
It's a great play.
And how about Molina's face? Where did he go? I know the player was running around, but now he's gone. Yeah, he jumped over your head like El Supermano.
Look up.
Like Hombre Supremo. That was unbelievable. And I guess for the Blue Jays, who got to find a way to win, apparently that's the way to do it.
That is the way to do it. That's how you knock down win number 6. Number 6 on the campaign.
Yeah,
14.
It was a weird night, to be honest, in baseball. And you know what? We're not doing a lot of bragging here in Toronto, considering how the first game ever in 1976-77, that season, started with the Chicago White Sox, where the snow was out there. I don't know.
Correct.
That even showed up. I'm living in Eugene, Oregon at that time. So the first Blue Jay game ever played, I'm living on the West Coast. And, of course, it comes on, and of all the times in April, of course, it snows
It
that
has to
day.
be. Yeah, game one.
And all, the announcers come on, well, you knew this probably was going to happen in Canada. And there's the snow coming down, and, everyone's sort of having a good chuckle about it. So I'm real careful about, talking about other people's weather. But when you play in Colorado with that elevation, you're bound to get maybe, the snowsuit crowd, the balaclavas all over the place. So if we go to the Nationals-Rockies game, so you know what the Nationals got? They come with a certain amount of firepower, but you're going to Colorado, Dave, a place that necessarily you may not, if you're a pitcher, that you think that you're going to have a good year or a good career. If you're an agent, I don't know if you want to go to the Rockies.
Yeah, you're shying away because you're sitting there playing in Coors Field, hoping that your ERA is around 5. Now, if you're scoring that at home, 5 isn't very good.
No, 5 is on the bad side, and so you get into those freak show games where, and it was Trey Turner who hits for the cycle, and I got to tell you, as much as that sounds exciting, for those that put up with the weather, not as good as you'd think. Yeah, that's the start, and it gets busy. Eight 8-5 now. Really far. There it goes. Yeah. 11-5. Is that the double? No, that's the triple. There it is. The hardest, obviously, I would say, Dave, to get in that
By far.
triple, gonna be the hardest. The final score for those who wanted to score at home, your pencil probably broke 15-12. 15-12.
Not bad, eh?
I mean, there's a lot of goofy scores last night too. Detroit beat Seattle 19-9.
19-9. Yep.
If you're a baseball purist and you see this stuff, does it kill you? Like, do you want to see the Cubbies win over Pittsburgh 1-0, or do you want to see 15-12?
I kind of want to see in between. I want to see like 5-3. I want to see 6-3. You like runs, you like home runs, but I don't know. I like pitching matchups that work out well, and I know that pitching itself is kind of a lost art. There's only a handful of them in both leagues that could actually sit there and say, yeah, this guy's a shutdown guy, because it just doesn't exist anymore. We're not talking about the 80s Cardinals where they could throw out a 5-man rotation and everybody's under 2.5.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. A lot of things have changed in Major League Baseball. I had a chance to talk to Tim Raines last week on my podcast. He says to me, you know what, things have changed as far as even stolen bases. The stolen base leader in the 80s was either Ricky Henderson, Tim Raines, Vince Coleman. Every single one of those years, 100+ stolen bases. Last year, the stolen base king had 62.
Yeah.
That's like half the amount of what it was.
And it used to be, and I think it still is, when people get jacked up when they see the attempt.
Completely.
It's one of the, truly moment-by-moment engaging aspects of baseball, because even the home run, you see.
Home runs are fun.
You see it lofting in the air. You got an idea. You start to cheer before it goes. But in baseball, the stolen base aspect is the only time you truly, in a split second, don't know the outcome.
Exactly. And it's split second. It's fast. Guys that steal bases kind of know what they're doing. It's all about the timing. It's all about going on the right pitch, hoping that, you're guessing right that the pitcher's throwing a breaking ball or some sort of off-speed junk. And it's very cool, and that's what I really liked about watching guys like Tim Raines and Ricky Henderson, Vince Coleman, guys like that. They were magnificent.
And you're talking National League too, National League where the base running is pretty important.
Much more than what you see in the American League. Correct.
So that was some of the excitement in baseball last night. But I will say that in watching the Oklahoma City game with Houston, There was, and our good friend Kevin Harlan, who we used to have on, and again, we got to talk to him too.
Yep.
Yeah, courtesy of our friends at TNT. Heated moment between Beverly and Russell Westbrook, who is literally that entire team. But when it's amazing when you look at the stats when he was off the court. He didn't like being asked that question. Just how badly it sinks for the Thunder when he doesn't play. But, you can't. It's hard to go out, continually score 40-plus points, knowing that when you take your rest, you're not going to get any. Well, Beverly is an outstanding defensive player. And it got a little heated, not surprisingly, last night. Here it comes. Because defensive players, as another player, they get on your nerves. And here we go. Okay, so there's the exchange. Okay, Russell, so we'll get rid of this one. So you got to wonder what exactly is going to come on when you go to the podium. Because right now, I would say in professional sports, the podium has become a little bit of a show. Like, look, they started bringing, extra people, like children. So to prove that you were a good father, little kids were going on. But generally now, Dave, you've got something probably to say. So the first one to the podium is Russell Westbrook. Yeah, so first question, boring question, right? Boring. But, it's a bit of a pillow because the big one's coming. Here comes the question. Sure, no problem. Here comes Beverly. And so the question will be asked again. All right, that's yeah, well, yeah, of course you're not trying to bash someone. Yeah, absolutely. But that was last night again in the NBA. So Houston eliminates the Thunder 4 games to 1, Dave, 105-99. And as you would expect, a close game, Utah and the Clippers. Utah leads now 3 games to 2. They win in L.A. last night. And San Antonio, because it's the NBA. So now that you have home court, you win by 13 points.
Yeah.
This is how it works. That's how it is.
And that line was 10.
10.
So you sat there and you went, hey, maybe the Grizzlies have a chance considering what happened. I'll take the Grizzlies plus the 10. You lost.
No, you completely lost. And the first 2 games that the Grizz played in San Antonio, they lost by a combined 1,008 points. It's just how it is in the NBA. And it's interesting in talking with those that are close to athletics and those who have played a lot of sports, including the ones that I'm going to talk about. But if you actually had the ability and were talented enough and had the resume to coach any sport professionally, you had such skills that professionally you could coach any sport. Which one would you like to coach the least?
Oh, the least. I thought you were going to say the most.
I know.
I wasn't ready for that one.
The least.
Because the most would be football.
Football, for me, number 1.
Yeah,
and it's not even close. It's not close.
The least.
For me, it's the association. I would find it very difficult.
Yeah, I'd probably go more Major League Baseball. Well, no, I'd probably go NBA. You're right.
NBA is tough simply because you've got such power with those players. And generally, if it's a star player, the organization of the fans as a whole, they're more worried about that guy than you. So how do you get someone to listen to you? It seems like at times there's a disconnect. There's a lot of disrespect. And it's openly sometimes on the court. I don't think I could handle that. At least to me personally, you've got control when they're at the collegiate level. And look, they got to play to move on. So they're going to listen to you, and even should you bench, how many times have you seen a star player benched and it ends up being just a fracas? It ends up being such a wretched experience that sometimes players go, I don't want to play for him. And if he doesn't want to play for you, guess who leaves town? It ain't the player.
Bingo. We've seen that a lot. We've even seen that recently in a completely different sport, hockey, because no matter how much they try to sugarcoat it or cover it up, the Buffalo Sabres clearly made moves in their front office and with their head coach because of their star player. And it's happened many, many times. You know what? I think it happens more in other sports than necessarily hockey. But yeah, the old saying is, it's easier to get rid of one coach than 20 players. So, you know what? Same thing with the NBA. Easier getting rid of the one coach than the 5 starters and 8 bench players, right?
Also, apparently there was no volume for the last things. I understand the videos. So if you were looking for sound, apparently it wasn't there. If you're going to go to the website, though, you will see exactly what we talked about, and you will see the videos. But apparently the volume was low as we continue to find out things day by day. But that's okay. We will definitely get through that. Looking at the NHL, so you're going to get started. We talked a lot about that yesterday. You've got Nashville and St. Louis, Edmonton and Anaheim going tonight. Once again, we took a look at the numbers. Nashville, St. Louis, we kind of like the under on that one. We thought that there's going to be value on the over, Edmonton and Anaheim.
Late games, by the way. The first one starts at
8 Eastern.
o'clock.
Yep.
Kind of disappointing. I'm a big fan of 7.
7's great. Hey, you live on the western side of the world, even Central Time. There's nothing like, well, look, everything's better, right? So you come on, there's a game at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, it's perfect.
At 4 Pacific. And when you're talking about Sunday NFL, there's nothing like getting up on a Sunday morning.
That was the best part of living in Calgary.
11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 11
kickoff.
o'clock in the morning kickoff.
So it allows you.
Shows are on at 9.
It allows you to go and make your bets. At that time, here in Canada, there's something called ProLine. So the local convenience stores, you could actually bet in the stores. You fill out your little form. That's how it was done. You do that. You pick up the booze for the day. That's nice. And you're back home for kickoff. Like Saturday night wasn't enough booze. So there you are again. That was tremendous. But here in the Eastern Seaboard, well, Nashville, St. Louis, Edmonton, Anaheim again at 10:30 tonight. Edmonton will be interesting to see what kind of jump they get. You talked about beforehand, Dave. You kind of like the Oilers in this series. And I do too, because I think at this point, and I wouldn't, if you'd asked me a couple of years ago about this, saying which goaltending do you feel the least confident about, it might be the Ducks.
Yeah, right now you got to sit there and go, okay, well, you break down the West. You got Pekka Rinne and whatchamacallit in St. Louis,
Jake Allen.
Yep. And then you have Cam Talbot, who's been lights out for the Oilers, and John Gibson. Now, I think there's still a lot of potential in John Gibson. I'm not about to write him off or think that, you know what, maybe he's just going to be an average goaltender, but he had some injuries.
I think it's injuries, Dave, and you know what? And you can't, some people say, well, you can't blame it on injuries. Well, number one, it depends on what the injury is.
Big time.
And it depends on, you talk about playoffs, and they say, well, we didn't have this player and that player. They said you can't blame playoff failure on injuries. Again, it depends on who's. I look at those championship Blackhawk teams. Well, what if it was Keith and Seabrook that were hurt? You're not winning. You're not winning the cup.
You're not winning anything.
Yeah. So I don't think that's necessarily a cliche. I think it's more of a truism. To that point. Then of course on Thursday night you've got the Rangers in Ottawa, which, man, I don't know if I'm going to watch any of that. I mean, there could be some excellent stuff on. Well, have you noticed that on some of the movie channels? If you stay up late enough, you get some good stuff, like surprising stuff. And then Pittsburgh at Washington, 7:30 start. If you're not watching that, well, again, if you're not a hockey person, I get it.
You don't like hockey.
But you may want to watch that one because Washington comes in with a ton of anxiety as well. It's one of those series where I don't know how favored each one of these teams, but I would say that Pittsburgh right now is going and saying, let's see if you can do it. Like they got nothing on their shoulders. It's all on Washington to me.
Pittsburgh on the money line is paying over 2.
Over a 2.
Over a 2.
You might want
210 on some accounts.
You might want to dig in on that one.
I'm just saying.
It is but again, we look at this time of year in sports. So what do you got going on? So you have the NBA and the NHL sort of getting into the tougher part of I would say their championship tournament, because that's really what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll still say that I believe that to win a Stanley Cup, it might be the toughest tournament in the world to win, because not only does it have the longevity of when you started, you're getting the shit kicked out of you every day, and now you got to go all the way into sometimes June. And be lucky enough, and we just talked about injuries, that your key guys can actually still skate around. I mean, people talk about what, the lower body, upper body. Well, the reason they do that is because they almost all have stuff going on. And I know that when you start talking about Jumbo, years ago, even back in Boston, there were times where he couldn't bend over and tie his skates up. No one knew it. So they said, what about Thornton? He disappears in the playoffs. Well, sometimes they literally are playing like Bobby Bond on a broken ankle or whatever. It's very difficult to play when you're in that much pain, but they can't say anything.
Yeah, they can't say anything, and then you hear at the end, once a team's eliminated, it's like, oh, he had a torn ACL, or he had a separated shoulder. Just look at some of the war wounds of Patrice Bergeron in the past. The guy was playing with a lacerated spleen at one time.
See, that doesn't.
I mean, really?
I don't care what you do for a living. Lacerated spleen.
Do you really? Yeah, I'm saying no. I'm calling it a day.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's when you tap out. The actual version of tapping out.
Yeah, like Troy Gloss, for example, the old third baseman for the Jays. He'd sit out if he had a hangnail. Hashtag baller.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, when's Baller's coming back on?
Baller's season 3.
Yeah, when is it?
I don't know, but
that show is that is money. Dwayne Johnson, that thing is excellent.
You know what? He's turned out to be sensational. Like
I think you should get honestly, I think if you're talking about Emmys and stuff like that, I don't know if it's even in that category up for that, but I think you should get one.
You know what? Award shows, shun at that kind of, like a guys type of
guys thing, I guess.
Series, whatever you want to call it.
Like Game of Thrones is going to win that. The guy who plays Vontar or whatever, he wins. Although I do like Game of Thrones, so I'm not being an asshole. I'm just saying that.
And you might be the biggest Vontar fan around.
Oh,
it's like
stop me,
Vontar this, Vontar that. Shut up, Mike. I don't need to hear about Vontar.
Hey, Dave, who am I?
Let me guess.
Yeah,
Vontar?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, Ballers was great. We were watching it. Gotham just started again.
Yeah. Did you like Gotham on Monday? It was a little too much Joker for me, or Riddler, I should say.
Riddler, because I mean,
he's a good character. He kind of looks like my financial guy, but
I think he looks like a lot of people's financial guy. Yeah, I mean, he sorry, financial people, but you do kind of have that look like
you really
once
do.
you go, and so that is your RSP for the season. You go in, you dress up like your mom, and you go out and you stab someone in the bush. That's all I'm saying.
And you know what? The Penguin recovers again.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoiler alert. I'm sorry. You should have seen it by now. It's
Cobblepot.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah.
I like the character, though.
He's really
Penguin.
good,
He's
actually.
awesome.
He might be the best guy on that show.
I think he is. There's some other people, though, too. You know what I mean?
Oh, what's her name? What's James Gordon? What's her name?
She's not on that much anymore, though.
Maricin or Maris,
yeah,
whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know her real name.
Do you notice that guy, though? He's doing that voice, kind of. Welcome, you didn't help my father. Excuse me. Why are you talking like Batman? I knew it was you because you guys are wearing hockey pants.
You know who else is really good? I like the actor that plays Alfred.
Alfred's good. He's been in a bunch of English stuff too.
Yeah,
he's like one of these guys.
He's really
Oh,
good.
by the way, here's another thing too. And when you're watching all these shows, we all binge watch now. You watch all these series, and no one watches things live.
No.
So you sit there and you binge watch.
Well, it's easier and it's faster, right?
Is every actor in the world from England? Like all these guys that you watch, even on the Walking Dead.
Yeah, that's true.
So you see the guy who plays.
Maybe we're on that kind of part of the roller coaster, right?
Yeah. There's Rick, supposed to be from Atlanta, goes up to his son, Carl. Hey, Carl. And then they go, oh, we got a hold of, Smedley Worthington III, who plays Rick. He's like, well, I say, a lot of the characters that go around with their heads getting lopped off, it's quite fascinating, really, really.
Right,
I'm like,
oh boy.
I'm like, what? You're English? Watching The Wire. What's that guy? The Stringer Bell guy, who's a huge actor now. English. They're all English.
Speaking of non-English, there's continued rumors about Dexter returning.
See, people got mad about that, and I didn't.
Really?
And I didn't. Okay, so
I don't
so
like the
beyond.
way he ends it. I don't like the way he's sitting there at some lumber yard or he's a lumberjack all of a sudden. It's like, no, you can't end it like that. And it was so stupid. He's sitting there carrying his sister that basically loved him. That's weird.
Well, I think it depends on your sister. No? All right. I never had a sister, so I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just, look, don't get mad at me.
No. Oh, no.
Are cousins okay?
No. You're not from Smiths Falls.
Well.
Yeah. Just saying.
Okay. Well, they showed him smiling at the end, and he's a lumberjack or something or somewhere.
Really?
And I'm thinking.
That has nothing to do with what he's doing.
Yeah, but here comes more killing. And
yeah,
a good serial killer. You don't find those often.
No.
Like, it's so.
They're hard to find.
I mean, if you ask the FBI when they're profiling people, I go, how often, though, would you find a good serial killer who can sort of have the sort of moral compass to define, that the bad people probably should die?
Mm-hmm.
They're saying it rhymes with Schnever.
Yeah, it totally does. Ask any FBI agent.
Yeah.
He'll give you the same answer.
Yeah.
We're telling you right here for free.
Oh, you mean like Dexter? Yes. That would never fucking happen. I'm just saying, went to a lot of schooling, a lot of years. Was a flatfoot for a while. You never find that. Dexter, though, I did love that. The John Lithgow Trinity Killer.
Maybe
season.
the best season.
Yeah. And boy, was he. You know what?
He's a good actor.
He is. He's a great actor. And is there anything creepier than sort of a big, tall, bulbous man holding you in a bathtub?
I know.
And that's how you're dying.
I know.
Like, some people go, well, the warmth. No. I'm not feeling the warmth when I'm being murdered by a big man naked but it's not. It's as I said, it's not good. It's really not good. But shows that are on now, I mean, we'll throw this out there too a little bit. The ones that you like to watch right now. There's some of it that, like, I love Breaking Bad. Like, Breaking Bad to me was almost a perfect show. But Better Call Saul is fantastic too.
I haven't seen that one.
Better Call Saul, you got to watch
that.
that.
I see a lot of the commercials for it. So.
Yeah.
What season is that? That must be early.
2.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think it's 2, isn't it? I don't think it's 3. It's 2, right, Russell? Yeah. So once again, we're getting some of the tweets here. We realized in running the B-roll that the audio clips, you couldn't really hear the sound, which is okay because the sound wasn't huge, except of course when we got to the Russell Westbrook where he did a swear.
Ooh.
But I got to be honest, when you take a look at his entire season, and I'm just going to skip back to basketball for a second here. Russell Westbrook, you just don't see performances like that often in any kind of sport. Like, just the triple-doubles, and I get all that, but what he did last night, so Kevin Harlan, who's one of our favorites, at one point, it looked like the weird cartoon where the star character is doing everything. Westbrook hits a 3, goes back, gets the rebound, scores another one, steals the ball. Like, it was almost a fantasy-like thing that Russell Westbrook was doing. The fact is, you cannot do that for a sustained period of time and think that you're actually building a franchise. So I don't know where the Thunder go from here. But it really was quite remarkable last night. And I'll be honest, I love watching that. That's engaging to me. Do you really like watching James Harden? For some reason, and I just don't think he gets a lot of love anyway, and I'm not saying he's not a substantial player. It's just not my favorite thing in the world. Maybe it's the beard. Man. And we're going to get back to beard talk again, but I just don't like it.
Yeah, it's a really weird look.
Look, you shouldn't be like the kids, where you do the upside-downy head?
Yeah,
and it's still
thing.
And it still looks the same.
Yeah.
He's got that going on.
Yeah, I agree. And he's come a long way, especially when you look at what he used to look like with the Thunder and that.
Well, I think I go back to, did he have that even at Arizona State? I can't remember. But that would stand out. But now, anything goes now. Like, do you like man bun? Do you like man bun on athletes?
No.
So look, let's take soccer out of the equation because you're going to see a lot of shit there that just doesn't fly.
I think it's mandatory. You walk in there and go, where's your man bun?
Yeah. Is that the Euro trash, dirtbag, douchebag look?
Yes, it is. Especially the douchebag part. It really is.
Because if you had a man bun, I'd have to say, hey, Davey, how's it going? Look, I guess I could have one with the length of hair, but that's not.
I can't do it.
That's.
Yeah, but if you did it, I'd cut it off.
He said, that's not.
Yeah, you're not sitting beside me.
Yeah, all you'd have to really say is, Vicky doesn't like it. She doesn't? Give me those scissors. That is gone. That is gone, my friend. And someone said, if you're that much in love with his wife's twin sister, aren't you saying? I go, no. It's not like identical twins.
No.
It's not.
They're not.
Like,
they look like sisters.
They look like sisters, but
like
when, eventually it's like, well, that, of course, Irene's twin.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's the twin? Vicky is my twin.
Yeah.
And I did not realize. So just so you know that. Now I have made mentions of sisters and cousins this show. So maybe you would just figure that to be a thing. Watching Raw Mike Richards, www.rawmike.richards.com. It is only episode number 3, so as you know, kind of feeling our way through.
We're working out the bugs here, folks.
Actually doing this stuff.
We're getting a lot of notifications about the audio not working. Okay, that'll happen.
Yeah, we get it.
Okay.
Working on it.
Yeah.
Also, I think a lot of people too would like to have the ability to call in. So that is something that we have to work into the weirdo WWW world. So we do have Skype. We might actually have a guest tomorrow via. It'll be Skype. So we're going to talk about the NFL draft, which should always be a big show, of course, in Philadelphia. So you'll have fans, being angry in Philadelphia. You'll have the Jet fans showing up who just – and I will say this about – and I know you're a Jet fan, and I've said this beforehand. There's something about the green jersey, white sleeves, one of my all-time favorite classic jerseys. I love that jersey.
You've liked it for a long time.
With
Corbett.
Corbett, the Corbett. I got to get one of those. If you're watching, if the Jets organization is watching, that I'd love to have.
Send it, exactly. No, it's a sharp-looking jersey. I just wish the team once in a while would play as well as the jersey is. It's kind of been disappointing.
Well,
there was a couple back-to-back conference years where Mark Sanchez accidentally led them to the conference.
Is he going to actually play this year? Is he still playing?
Well, he's with the Chicago Bears now, and the Bears better hope he doesn't see the field because he's Mike Glendon's backup. And, hey, Mike Glendon's still Mike Glendon, so we don't know how good or how bad this guy's going to be, but he's going to get every chance to prove that he's not this year's version of Brock Osweiler.
What's frightening is that if you take a look at the New England Patriots, I mean, I have not looked at the futures. Maybe we should look at the futures. Who is the odds-on favorite?
They are the favorite.
And you know what? How do you not agree with what you have seen? And so that's why when they have these conversations about, great quarterbacks, you probably can't even sit there and try to dismiss Tom Brady when his hands are literally filled with rings. And MVP rings.
Yeah.
And last year, where I still take a look and people say, but don't you think the Falcons completely shit the bed? Like, wasn't that just the worst meltdown of all time?
A little bit of one, yeah.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and say that, had they done things differently, that they don't actually hoist. In fact, to be up that much and not hoist the Lombardi Trophy is almost unthinkable. But those that figured it out were the Hoodie and Tom Brady and what they had to do defensively to get themselves back in the game. Yeah, it is a monumental fail on a Falcon side? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it was Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly. So here's what Vegas calls right now, because there's a four-way tie for who's going to represent the NFC against the AFC. So the AFC favorite are the Patriots. They're paying about a 5 right now. So Vegas lines up New England versus Green Bay, Dallas, Seattle, Atlanta, all paying 10-1. So that's what they're predicting right now. It's going to be one versus any one of these four as odds-on favorite to be playing in first week of February.
Interesting.
And the second team, the closest team to possibly knock off New England in the conference, the Oakland Raiders. They're paying 12-1.
Do we still have to call them the Oakland Raiders?
I think for another year or two.
Yeah, I think you still do.
It's going to be kind of cool calling them Las Vegas.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Las Vegas Raiders.
And are we seeing in black and white, are we going to say, is it Marshawn Lynch?
Marshawn Lynch, yes. They're waiting. They're pending trade right now. Apparently the Raiders and Lynch have agreed to a 2-year deal.
Now, if he's anything like he was, so now we got to go back and really take and weigh what and when he was substantial. Is he still substantial?
I think he's substantial to be almost in every day, every game back, every down back. I just don't know if he's the guy that's going to be able to carry the ball 20, 25 times. But looking at the Oakland offense, and we know how great Derek Carr is because he's fantastic. I don't think they need a running back to run the ball 20, 25 times. They just need a guy that's going to be able to control a little bit. He's going to do a lot of work in the backfield. And guess what? anywhere within 10 yards and goal line, it's Marshawn Lynch time. It's beast mode time, right? And they will drive that ball. I look for the Raiders, if they could shore up their defense a little bit with this year's draft, I look for the Raiders to actually give the Patriots a pretty good push.
And I don't mind it. I liked the league. And you got to go back a ways now. When the Oakland Raiders were the team that people just did not want to play. Now, I mean, I know obviously the Gruden year was, but it almost seemed like just this huge jump up and then massive, just sort of disappearing.
It's
right?
a downfall, yeah.
Like, so you're going back to the Kenny Stabler, Freddie Bolitnikoff, Dave Casper, John Madden, because those Raider years, and that's back the NFL films. Well, the Raiders are
Autumn wind.
Yeah.
That's great. Google search that if you want.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we
autumn
play
wind.
it, but now we get in trouble.
Yeah, we get in trouble.
We got to figure out how to get
Exactly.
special licenses for these things.
It says something special about the league, too, when teams like the Packers, Cowboys, Steelers, and Raiders are relevant. Because those are kind of like your NFL. Like the only other team I'd kind of throw in there that probably should be in that mix, maybe the Washington Redskins, and I'm not even a Redskin fan. It's just one of those traditional organizations where you sit there and you go, okay, well, and it'd be really nice too if the Bears could turn back into what the Bears were, or the 49ers could turn back into kind of what we grew up watching and enjoying in the 80s and stuff like that with Joe Montana and whoever he played with, kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll come back and talk a little more football again, obviously, tomorrow. So, Russell, what we're going to do, do we know that the sound is going to come up if we do go off that computer, or we don't have that ability? These are huge questions.
We can try bringing it up on the mixer.
Okay, so we really don't know. Okay, so we won't. We were going to break. I wanted to show some archived material that you can get, and we're going to start putting up on the website again. It's sort of baby steps for us as we move forward. You're thinking that we can or cannot. You're not sure if we go to that. You'd have to come over here and do it, so we don't know. Yeah, all right. So we'll once again, as we work on some of these things, we're hoping very much to get to the point where we can, look like a professional people.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. I think what would happen is people are saying, "Can you play the shit music again?" The shit music? You mean? Yeah. And now it's time to play everyone's favorite game show.
Yeah.
Watch it or bet it.
Want to do an NHL version of it really quick?
Yeah, watch it or bet it. We can do that. Long Dave with the shit music that Russell picked.
Preds and Blues. Are you watching it, betting it, or completely passing on it?
Betting on it. I'm still going to take the under. I have zero interest in watching it. Like none.
Honestly,
No.
like tonight might be a good night to catch up on PVR.
Billions. That's another good show.
There you go. Yes.
I'm a couple behind on Billion. I'll watch Billions and then occasionally look at the phone and go, what do you mean they scored another goal?
Yeah.
Assholes. It's
Yeah,
one of those.
no, that's
Yeah.
fair. We've all been through. You know what?
Yeah.
It's funny because, these are the kind of nights where you kind of take advantage of it, right? I mean, the Raptors don't play until tomorrow. You don't have to really worry about, might be catch-up time on the PVR.
Yeah. Watch it or bet it. We're looking at tonight, Anaheim.
Ducks, Oilers, watching and betting.
Yeah, watching and betting. And
Can't wait for that. I wish that series was a little bit earlier on in the evening, not in the the 10:30 puck drop.
What if they're skating on the ice? Here comes the music. Why is it not doing this? Come on, here we go. Oh, now it's not doing that now. Really? Seriously?
That's what they play in Anaheim.
There we go. Here we go.
Your Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You see-
maybe not.
I can see Corey Perry going.
You know what? This might be like some sort of tribute show when they have the Vegas franchise in.
Yeah,
in,
it's a little.
in,
He's got that Elvis
October,
feel to it.
right?
How can there not be an Elvis feel to that new team in
And
Las
Elvis,
Vegas?
and a guy that Elvis, he should be in a mascot for the Golden Knights.
You're telling me there's not going to be Elvis guys in? Like, it's going
There's
to be
gotta
disappointing.
something yeah. I
Like
want to see Elvis Knight.
If you go to Vegas, and I'm thinking almost everyone who's even interested in this show would be, when you walk like in front of the Bellagio and places like that, there were two giant Elvis guys. Like 6'6" giant offensive lineman Elvis guys, and they would sit there and they kind of walk slowly. But if a couple of girls were walking by or whatever, they'd sneak up on them and do the. Habam! Shazam! shaka, shaka, and do like one of the
Yeah,
moves.
no,
And the
when
girls
they-
would scream and they just jump in the air.
Were they sitting beside the other group of people sitting there with pieces of paper in
Oh,
their hand
yeah.
telling you to go to a
Yeah.
certain strip club? And
As they're sitting there, just smack, 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 smack. It's like here's a picture. I'm going, these pictures that you have on here, I know that's not the girl, and I can tell you why. The one is my mom, so that is weird to begin with. I don't know why you have that and why she's wearing that. Two, like some of them are famous. It's like, this is Jenna Jameson. Jenna Jameson's not. You're not coming to my room, and not for what are you saying this is? $25? No, it's not $25 for Jenna Jameson. If it is, times are tough.
good impression too.
Yeah, well, I'm
just
doing
saying.
the best I can. I found out that my all-time favorite from years ago, we talked about the 80s, 90s kind of girls,
Yep.
that Chasey Lane was in one of those. She's in one of the branches.
Yeah,
or
you did
whatever.
tell me that.
Yeah, it's just.
Did you imagine that version of it?
Yeah, and now,
Woof.
how you doing there, cutie? See, Russell, this is where you come back into play. This is your kind of place. But I don't want to see that. Can you imagine that a porn star's life didn't turn out great in the end? Who would have thought that?
Mm.
By the way, it's like looking at that the wrestling, who's alive and who's dead.
Oh, jeez.
The
There's
the dead list is unbelievable.
There's a long, and they're dead early. Like you look at some of the grades.
Miss,
like
but even Miss Elizabeth,
Miss
how
yeah,
does that even happen?
drug overdose. Exactly. Guys like Mr. Perfect, Ravishing Rick Rude, Davy Boy Smith. I mean, I could keep on going with it, but these are some of the biggest stars. The Macho Man in a terrible car accident. Yeah. Honestly, it's you at one point you'd hate to actually like there was one death a month happening during one of the summers, and it's like, wow, who's gonna die next?
Because where did I see Bautista? Oh, he was in the James Bond.
Yeah,
He was in the
yeah, he was, and he was also
Spectre. That's what he was in.
Yeah, and he was also in the new movies they have out there now. With it's on Volume 2. Russell, help me out here. What is it? Not Marvel. Guardians
Guardians
of
of the Galaxy. Who's in that
Galaxy.
one?
Yeah, Bautista's
Again,
in there.
eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's doing well. Well, I
Big
just think.
dude.
Look, I just don't. I'll be honest. I don't know a ton about wrestling. You know, I don't know a ton, and I tend to go back to those some real huge glory days back in the 80s and late 80s and early 90s. But to me, you flip it on, you'd see like Monday Night Raw or Nitro or whatever those names
whatever
are.
it was, exactly.
And then they'd call one of the wrestlers up, and you'd see whatever the gimmick was. So in the day, if it's the Iron Sheik or if it's who was it, Sheamus?
yeah.
Some of these guys. So
Yeah, he's still out there today.
you get an idea of what they are. So he's going to hit you with the shillelagh. He's going to do something bad. They depict him with red hair. Of course you do. That's how the world sees Ireland. But when I saw Carlito.
Yes.
Carlito was eating fresh fruit,
Yes.
and I never really got the angle.
Throwing it at people
Oh, that's
and spitting the apple at them.
like if you're eating a peach or something, I'm like, so this guy isn't a jabroni. He's not a jobber, is he?
Yeah, he was supposed to be better than what he was, and then they kind
Because-
of turned him into one.
Because
but-
someone's got to go and go, hey, backstage, who's the kid who's eating the fruit?
Yeah, that was him.
Can you eat?
Carlito.
Yeah, it's me. I'm Carlito. Okay, Carlito. Oh, actually, back there's like, yeah, what's up? Yeah, Carlito.
Stan.
Yeah. Hey, Danny. The fresh fruit thing's not as intimidating as we'd like. Can you eat like birds and things?
Live bird.
Can you give us like an Alice Cooper kind of biting the heads off stuff?
Go Ozzy Osbourne on him.
Yeah, I don't understand that whole thing. But look, I'm not going to take away from that whole industry and what they do. And I'll tell you what, whenever you work with them, and look, if those guys are in town, they are the most fascinating guys.
They are awesome.
Because we had Hacksaw in
Yep.
a little while ago.
We had Kofi Kingston in too, and I've talked to a lot of these guys. Not only are they the best trained to talk to media, but they're actually fun. They're interesting. Everybody has a side story.
Their backgrounds are
A lot
ridiculous.
of them are collegiate superstars that just never made it to the right level, or were there and decided, hey, you know what? I'd rather do this because this is a lot less punishing and probably a little more glory as well, considering it's worldwide.
I would say that at least 80% have some sort of NCAA, whether it's Division I, but there's obviously 2 and 3, but most have huge college backgrounds in like football was huge. There was some wrestling
Yep.
for some of them.
Kurt Angle, for example, was an Olympic gold medalist in Atlanta.
Was it Dirk? Who's the other? Dirk, not Dirk. I'm trying to think of who came in there. He was a big Ohio State wrestling guy.
Yeah,
Ohio State wrestling.
Don't know.
And so turning the and then
I know Brock Lesnar did almost everything from football to Roman Greco wrestling to anything, shot put, discus. Guys, like the guy was amazing everywhere.
would you be friends with Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. He lives in Saskatchewan, eh? He lives in Moose
What,
Jaw.
you're kidding me.
I'm not joking. His kid plays junior hockey, and he moved up to Saskatchewan for him to be a little bit closer to where there's a better opportunity. He's actually Brock Lesnar, and this is a true story.
Okay, this is I had no idea
Brock
about this.
Lesnar actually attends Winnipeg Jet games to visit his good buddy, Dustin Byfuglien.
You see, those guys should be friends.
Yeah.
Like you could cast those guys,
and they're both originally from Minnesota.
Well,
That's why,
like it makes sense. But if it was like a new kind of cop show, Brock Lesnar, and
Dustin Byfuglien.
it's the bully and the
and
the boat
well,
and the boat driver.
Honestly, it's so
Dustin always gets to drive the boat. That's the show. This is what I'd like. This is how I see the world.
it's pretty cool. I mean, walking around with Brock Lesnar, nobody's going to be saying a thing to you.
He's scary as shit
He
though.
is.
Like even as a friend, it's like, hey, do you want to go into Arby's? You know what I was thinking? No, Brock, no, no, don't. That's the thing you don't want to hear from him.
No.
It's and for the brief moment, the UFC, the mixed martial arts stuff. I just wonder. I take a look at it because I really like those guys too. I mean, and we had a chance to have some
Very
of them.
media savvy. Yes.
When Rory McDonald was in, those were some pretty cool moments. We talked to Dana a bunch of times. Do you think they're in danger at all of running out of gas?
Yes, and I'll answer that quickly because it really is happening. You're seeing, and you know what? I know there's been a changeover in ownership as well, and I think they got out at the right time because now it's kind of like, okay, there is an interest level. People like violent sports. That's why people loved boxing for centuries, or it seemed like it anyway. Now boxing's kind of faded out in the last couple of decades. Mixed martial arts was there for a good portion, and now it's kind of like there's the market is so saturated, Mike, where there seems to be a UFC card every 2 weeks, and you don't know anybody that's on the card. You don't know any names.
No.
You're not familiar with this. You can't sit there and say who's the heavyweight champion. And I mean, a lot of the big names that were around 5, 6, 7 years ago are no longer there. That's why the UFC is sitting there going, if George St. Pierre comes back, we will welcome him with open arms.
Yeah, he's a good interview too. He's fun. I like him.
No,
I like him.
Yeah, absolutely is.
Pretty open about some of his stuff as well. What is the last? I'm just curious. You can get a hold of us too on Twitter. So at Raw Mike Richards or at Dave Bastel. The last UFC that you paid for, the last pay-per-view event, and you know what? I know what mine was. It was Ronda Rousey. It was the Holly Holm Ronda Rousey. And by the way, in that fight, the first one, in that Holly Holm fight, you got unbelievable money. You got like almost it was like a 3-7, maybe it was even more than that.
Yeah, it
like
wasn't
4 times your money.
It wasn't supposed to happen.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed.
And she was a
to.
puncher too. She was a striker.
Exactly. I'm trying to think of which one it was.
But that how long ago that's over a year ago, isn't it?
Mine was probably a little bit longer than that.
Longer than that.
Yeah.
Because you're paying, what is it?
Usually $49.99.
Yeah, at least
$59.99
$50.
if it's a bigger fight. A lot of super fights, they're in the $69.99 range.
Last boxing match you paid for?
Mayweather Pacquiao.
Yeah, that's how many years? That's
2
summers ago.
And it was so disappointing.
Yeah, well,
you hope that was the fight you paid for 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Not
that
2
they screwed
years
around, and I mean, who knows who wanted to fight who or whatever, but that.
Yep.
That was disappointing
Totally
as well.
agree.
It's amazing what you though will pay for.
Do you pay for Mayweather versus Conor McGregor in a boxing fight, like a lot of people are saying will happen in 2017?
So you think that, because when I first heard that, I thought, well, once you start getting out of your discipline, once you make it circus-like, once it becomes Rocky, where Rocky has to fight Mr. T or whatever, like I don't know if, or I think also in that one, wasn't the Hulk?
Yeah,
you had to box the Hulk or something. It gets a little weird.
And Hulk's like 4 feet taller than him, and
that People are like, well, Sylvester Stallone can't be that short.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, like I'm making fun of that. I just thought it was. I just thought that was. It looks kind of weird. Like those early. Like for those of you who had those, what were those quote unquote illegal tapes of the first
Yes.
UFC, like
Yes.
UFC 1, 2, because that
like Tank Abbott, and yeah, where you'd actually watch an Ultimate Fighting Championship where Tank Abbott would fight 4 times in the same night.
well, and they also
It was literally a tournament.
these were the strong based on the strongman competitions they'd have in bars.
Yes.
Like you'd see guys go out there and fight with jeans, and I'm thinking this can't be. And they'd fight some giant sumo wrestler. Like the matchups were weird. I don't even think they had weight divisions or anything.
No, they wouldn't.
And they were kind of gross too.
Yeah.
So the strong guy. So here comes Billy Bob, and he gets in the ring and he's fighting with like jeans on. And here comes Mukuyo no Monohono. He gets in there, and the guy is striking him and kicking the guy in the face, and his stuff is exploding and all until Yoko Honomono like sits on him, and then the guy almost dies. And they used to hide those venues because I believed everywhere none of it was sanctioned. So technically those fights I believe were all illegal.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you have to fight? Oh yeah, I got the Billy Bob versus the Japanese fat guy. And that's where it came from. That's why I think if you were a purist in the boxing world, thought this is just shit. This is the kind of stuff that will bring everything down. But it took a smart guy, and look, I know a lot of people have these feelings about Dana White, but if you take away the smarts it took to actually rein all this stuff in, then have a TV show based on a lot of the up and coming fight, it was very, very calculated. And I got to hand it to the guy. It's from a business perspective, it is one of the more genius business moves in terms of revenues that came in from an entity that did exist. So he didn't invent mixed martial arts to make it the thing that it became.
Yeah. Remember, I think it was one of our first shows. We had Royce Gracie in studio.
Yeah, that was, I've seen him basically strangle.
Yeah, he's
strangle like 100 guys.
Yeah, he's 50 right now, and at that time, he was almost like the king of that sport.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I remember that.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And he actually, and you know what? When we saw him in person, he seemed like he had everything.
Oh no, he was there
properly.
Yeah. I guess that's
Randy Couture. We also talked.
Randy Couture. See, that's another one you talk about NCAA.
Yes.
Out as an Oregon Duck, and then actually coaching or not a Duck. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Don't get that wrong. Don't yell at me. He was a Beaver.
He was a Beaver. Okay.
He was a Beaver.
Okay.
Oregon State, because he went back to coach. Because then he coached the wrestling team. But see, he had that bad ending in Toronto as well. Do you remember that particular UFC? That was
he shouldn't have been in the ring.
That was
though.
bad. That was bad. I felt bad from that one. But I guess if you're always Gracie, when you take a look at how he fought, if you get into the stages of when he was big, once he got you into those holds, when he's got the guillotine or whatever you call it, the legs, because once he got you in some of those vulnerable positions, you would sit there and watch it for. That thing could go on for a half an hour in that hole till you.
Yeah, because nobody was giving out.
Yeah, and then eventually submission because he's going to break your arm, and
or
it's
the
all
guy
over.
Would literally pass out.
Yeah,
that you'd sit there with the arm that would.
I didn't necessarily enjoy that. That wasn't really like I'm enjoying the fact that people strike, and when you take a look at Conor McGregor and I know a lot of people don't like that because of his, sort of arrogant / flamboyant nature. But, if it takes a Mayweather McGregor deal, they're saying in days this could be done.
See, but hasn't that been said in a while though? Where
no, that's Dana saying this, of course.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm interested to see what actually happens in that fight. I think I know what happens in the fight, but I'm kind of interested to see what McGregor would have to offer, because he does actually have a California boxing license, so he is actually a registered fighter where he can legally do that. Now, I know these things transfer over easily state to state because it's going to be in Vegas. It's going to be a pretty big card. They're going to probably situate it around other things, and people are out to make money. And anytime Floyd Mayweather's part of it, Mike, he's going to co-promote. He's going to want 75% of the purse. He's so I don't know. And it's a fight obviously he thinks he's going to win easily.
Here's if you want to tweet in, you can do so. Some responses. Here's Fire Bergevin. That's the handle. Last UFC was GSP's last fight. Last boxing was Tyson versus Holyfield.
Ooh, that's a while ago.
That was the last pay-per-view. What was yours? You can tweet us at Raw Mike Richards or at David Bastel on Twitter. Here's from Ryan. Thanks. Loving the show, Mike. Finally, some good radio to listen to at work. So we are again. This is show number 3. So we're working on as much of the technical stuff as we can because most of the lingo for someone like myself is not a language to me. Maybe it is for Russell. He's a big. Do you call it sexting? Is that what you were? He was telling me before the show went on that he was all excited about this one thing, and I wasn't familiar with what he was talking about. Didn't appreciate the pictures either, to be honest. Although his mother's very proud of everything else that he does, but she never goes into his room. This is also what I heard. So, don't know. Was the prom good for you, Russell? I'm just saying. This is Russell Graham.